my name is Ranu. I have trained as an architect and specialized in residences through my work. Currently, I work with the REBA Chartered Practice in London. In this video, I will tell you how you can extend your house under the permitted development rules in England. What is permitted development? These are a set of rules fixed by the government that allow you to increase, extend, and alter your house without the need to apply for a formal planning permission to your local council. So that's one headache reduced in your extension project. But based on my various experiences with homeowners and their anxiety, I would urge you to seek permission, seek prior approval, or obtain a lawful development certificate for your extension project before you start construction, even if you think it is allowed under the permitted development guidelines. Why? It will reduce your headache while selling your house because you will have all the correct papers to hand. It will remove any anxious dealings with your local council if one of your alert neighbors complains to them about your extension. And most of all, it will keep you above board and legal at all times. Uh, I shall abbreviate permitted development to PD for ease of enunciation. Today, I will cover how you can add an outbuilding, a permanent looking shed like structure in your garden under PD rules. And I will also touch upon the building regulations that are associated with such a structure. We have received a fair amount of inquiries for making outbuildings from homeowners so that those buildings can serve as their home offices. And I dare say this trend might well outlast the COVID-19 period, as many of us continue to work from home instead of going to our physical office spaces. And hence, I thought I would share this information in a simplified manner for anyone who would like to avail of this opportunity. If you have any questions, please email them to me on my email ID, which is given in the description box below this video, or write your queries in the comments section. First, let's get your property type sorted. There are broadly three types of houses that are considered under planning departments. So let's start with a terraced house. If you look at the top left photo on your screen, so I'm taking the example of this house here, which is a terraced house, because this and other houses on this street, they share both their side external walls with more houses. So terraced houses are like sandwiches. Let's look at a semi-detached house. They share one of their walls, one of their external side walls with another house. So across this red line that I've just drawn, there are two separate houses which are attached on one side only, and their other side is free. It is not attached to anything. So they are called semi-detached houses. And then there is your detached house, which is not joined to anything. So the top right photograph on your screen, see on both sides, it's not attached to anything. It's standing alone without touching the neighboring walls of the houses around it. Now that you're sure what type of house your property is, there are some other conditions attached to your house that you need to be clear about. Please check that your house is not a part of any of these conditions that have just bounced on your screen. Your house should not be a listed building. It should not lie on Article 2 land, which are areas of outstanding natural beauty, conservation zones, a protected habitat, etc. Your house should have no Article 4 direction implemented on it, which will restrict its extension under PD rules. Your house should not have been converted from an earlier different use, so it should not be a converted house. Neither should it be a new dwelling. And finally, your house should be a house. It should not be a flat or a maisonette. How can you find out if any of this applies to your house? Check your property deed papers, do an online search with your postcode in it, or ask your architect or designer. Now let's talk a little about what is an outbuilding. What classifies as an outbuilding? On the screen, you will see some examples of what an outbuilding could be. Under the yellow tab which says types. So it could be a garage or a carport. A carport is like a permanent shed or a canopy on four pillars under which you park your car. It could be a B&Q like shed. It could be a greenhouse for your vegetables, or it could be a mobile home cabin. These mobile home cabins often bring up the image of a caravan in our minds, but please do not let that caravan image cloud your head till I complete this slideshow. Now, let's talk about the materials. The outbuilding could be made of various materials. It could be a timber frame, timber clad structure. It could be made out of masonry, which is blockwork or brickworks. It could be a metal frame structure with glass in it. Now let's find out the purpose for which one might use an outbuilding, and also the purpose which the council will allow. You could use your outbuilding as a personal office for your own use. So it is not to house a small company that will have an effect on the street parking around your house, or it would increase the vehicular traffic and the noise around your house. Your outbuilding can be used for entertainment, for regular barbecues, meeting friends and family, watching your favorite movies in peace and quiet, or pursuing your hobbies like painting, pottery, or putting up a pool house or a sauna, etc. It could be your own personal fitness studio, like your own yoga room or your gym. It could be also a utility area, like a garage, or a storage room for household items that we are deeply emotionally attached to but never use. Now, these were the purposes that the council will allow you to use an outbuilding for. Let's see the purposes that you cannot build an outbuilding for. You cannot build an outbuilding for your grandmother, commonly known as a granny annex, for her to stay in. Similarly, you cannot build it as a mother-in-law unit for her to stay in, or you cannot build it for your independent but loving teenager to stay in. Neither can you use it as an accommodation for your help. So the building is not to be used as a self-contained unit. Basically, it cannot have a sleeping accommodation within it. And that means it cannot include a sink, a toilet, a wash basin, a pantry, a kitchenette, or a WC or a shower area. Or if you are still dependent on an antenna for TV transmission, you cannot add that also without planning permission. So if you require the purposes that you see on this slide in front of you to use your outbuilding for, then please apply for a householder's planning permission to your local council, because it will not be covered under PD rules. Or check the Caravan Act 1968 in detail before planning. So this is what I'm going to now talk about, the Mobile Homes Cabin 1968 Caravan Act. The Caravan Act 1968 gives you the option of using a mobile home for a living accommodation that can be planted in your rear garden. When we talk of mobile homes, usually a caravan comes to mind. What is a caravan? Well, something that looks like this perhaps, but maybe not, because the Act clearly defines a caravan as a structure that is designed for human residence and can be transported by road. But this does not mean that the structure needs to have wheels on it. So it can still look like a building that you see on the bottom right of your screen here. So it can still look like this. This is a picture from a Quick Garden Company who supply garden rooms similar to this. So if a structure is permanently fixed to the ground, for example, a masonry structure made out of brick or blockworks, or even a timber frame structure which has permanent foundations going below the ground, then such a structure cannot be classed as a caravan, and hence it will not be a part of the Mobile Homes Cabin Act. But if your granny annex is designed with the specifications given regarding the permitted size of a caravan or a mobile home, as they are given in the section 13 of the Caravan Act, Then your granny annex or mother-in-law unit or the sleeping accommodations for your teenager might come under PD. But for complete peace of mind, please apply for prior approval from your local council. For more information on this, there is a link given in the description box below this video. Please click on it and find out as much as you can. Now, you could say that you do not need to live, eat, or sleep in this outbuilding, but it will only be used for intermittent merrymaking. And now, then let me tell you what you can do based on that purpose, how big, wide, tall, short your outbuilding can be. So I would reiterate my recommendation that whatever you make, please apply for a prior approval or a lawful development certificate, which is abbreviated to LDC here on your screen. Now, let's start with the area of your building. You can cover only 50% of the rear and the side garden area, or let's say the total open area around your original house. So let's imagine that your open area around your original house is 100 square meters. So you can cover up to 50 square meters of this as part of your outbuilding, but this 50 square meters should also include any rear extension or side extension that is already existing on your land or something that you would propose in the future. It should also include things like a B&Q shed or a small greenhouse. And please remember that these extensions could have been built by the previous homeowner, and so just take care of that. Again, for more information on the side and rear extensions, there are video links in the description box below this video. Click on those and find out more about them. Another quick note for Providence, keep in mind your future. By that I mean, in case you would like to extend your house on the rear or on the side in the future, you will be limited by the size of your outbuilding if that is already in place. As an example, an acquaintance was regretting his decision of building a rather spacious, permanent outbuilding in his rear garden, thereby ruining the chance of adding a substantial and more efficient rear extension to the main house. Now, the moral of this one-line anecdote is get professional advice when you're planning any works to your property. Getting back to the rules, your outbuilding can only be 1 story high. That means you can only make a ground floor outbuilding. No outbuilding on land forward of a wall forming the principal elevation. Let us look at a sketch to understand this better in human language. So what they mean by principal, no outbuilding cannot be forward of your, this means it cannot protrude beyond or be sitting in front of the principal house elevation. So the principal house elevation means the main wall of your house that faces a road or a street. And what happens if your house is a corner end of street house? That's the example that I've taken here, so you can understand house which is in the middle of a street and which is at the end of a street. So this black box that you see here is the plot boundary of your house. Your house, as it originally stood on July 1st, 1948, is this blue rectangle here. All these small gray rectangles or boxes are the extensions that you could be planning, and they would include a side extension, an outbuilding, or a rear extension, okay? And because your house is a corner plot, you have 2 streets which are facing your house. So your principal elevation, in a sense, is not just this wide elevation that you see here. It also becomes this side also acts as your principal elevation. So this line here means that any of these gray boxes which you see on this sketch are not allowed because they sit in front of the main wall of your house which faces a street. So this is not allowed, this is not allowed, and also this dashed black line that you see here is an imaginary line which is drawn from in front of the main wall of your house extending to the side boundaries. And you see this small part of your outbuilding is sitting in front of this imaginary line. So this part is also not allowed. So please take care when you're trying to site or locate your outbuilding. The other important thing which is often overlooked is that you cannot have a raised platform or a deck or a patio that is more than 30 centimeters or a foot high than the surrounding ground level. Whatever material you make it out of, that is not allowed. If you want to make a deck or a patio higher than 30 centimeters, then you need to apply for a formal planning permission. Now let's discuss the outbuilding heights in more detail. If your outbuilding is 2 meters away from your plot boundary on all sides, then the height for a double pitched roof or a two-sided sloping roof or an apex roof is 4 meters at the ridge. Now look at this informative sketch by Garden Room Guide. So the ridge, do you see here, this is 2 meters. So your outbuilding is at least 2 meters away from your plot boundary. And this is a double-sided sloping roof that you see. The highest point is called the ridge of this roof. That cannot be more than 4 meters. The lowest point of a sloping roof is called the eaves. So this whole point cannot be more than 2.5 meters in height. So we've discussed both the situations, the highest point and the lowest point, and how much they can be in a double-sided sloping roof. What if you do not choose a double sloping roof in favor of economy? Then, if your outbuilding is a minimum 2 meters away from the plot boundary on all sides, and if you have a single side sloping roof or a mono-pitch sloping roof, or it is also called a pent roof sometimes, then the highest part of that roof that you see here in the sketch would be at 3 meters, no more. And the lowest part of this sloping roof, which is also called the eaves, would be at 2.5 meters and no more. So in these two cases that we discussed, your outbuilding, the distance between your outbuilding wall and your plot boundary should be at least 2 meters. What if you want to maximize the width of your outbuilding and want to locate it close to the plot boundary? Then let's see what you can achieve. So if your outbuilding is within 2 meters of your plot boundary on any side, then the maximum height of your outbuilding will be 2 meters at any point on the roof. So again, a very helpful sketch by the Garden Room Guide. This is your plot boundary, and you see how close your outbuilding is. In any case, it is less than 2 meters. So the maximum height of your roof would be from the top of your roof to the closest surrounding ground level would be 2.5 meters and no more. So in this option, you get to go closer to the plot boundary. And now I'm going to tell you of some precautions that you need to take for all these three types of locations of your outbuilding that we just discussed. Take care of any trees that are close by, because they might require you to add some special reinforced foundations for your outbuilding. Also note or inquire if you need party wall awards with your neighbors, which depends on the proximity of your outbuilding to any neighboring existing buildings. Now, this information was regarding the size of your outbuildings and the PD rules. And in case you want something bigger or you want it for a different purpose, then by all means you can apply for a planning permission to your local council. Another thing which I find of great importance is the building regulations guidance and the approval for outbuildings. So I will touch upon that as well. Now, we recommend that you submit your outbuilding designs for building regulations review, which will confirm the safety of your structure, that it can withstand the loads imposed upon it. It will confirm that the gas and electricity connections are made safely and to the right standards. And not to be missed is the performance of your walls, roofs, and floor. What do I mean by performance? It is the ability of your walls, roof, and floor to retain the heat that you have generated, either through radiators on the walls or through underfloor heating. So you have generated heat to warm up the rooms. And if you do not insulate your floor, your walls, and your roof properly, then you shall continuously heat more and spend more on utility bills and increase your carbon footprint as well, because your walls, your roof, and your floor is not robust enough, and all that heat is being lost to the outside cold environment. This is something that I strongly believe in, that it will be better to insulate your outbuilding structure to the same level that is needed for your main house, because you might end up using this outbuilding for normal office hours, during the winter months as well. So what I told you was my suggestion, and now let me tell you what is mandatory by law. So the mandatory requirements for building regulations. Building regulations will not normally apply if the floor area of your outbuilding is less than 15 square meters. And also bear in mind, there is no sleeping accommodation, which we have already discussed in detail. If your floor area of the outbuilding is between 15 and 30 square meters, you will again not normally need a building regulations approval if the distance between your outbuilding and any boundary is at least 1 meter, or if you construct your outbuilding structure with non-combustible, non-flammable material. Now, this is something that your architect or the manufacturer of the outbuilding can confirm for you. Now, this is a quick recap of the information that I shared with you. Please go to the links given in the description box below the video, and you will also find my email there. So do a research and find out what is best for you. Use the information that I've told you about. If you have any queries, do let me know on my email. I wish we successfully and carefully come out of this pandemic. If you do build an outbuilding and eventually go back to your physical office premises away from your home, you will still be able to efficiently utilize your outbuilding in various beautiful ways. Wishing you the best with your property. Thank you.